And that was the problem. It wasn't that a king in itself was the problem. And this is what Samuel goes on to say. He says, if you fear the Lord and serve and obey him, and do not rebel against his commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. If you do not obey the Lord, if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you. So Samuel's saying the king's not a problem. The king is not the issue here. That if the king serves the Lord and you serve the Lord, great, everything's fine. But if you don't serve the Lord and rebel against his commands, then his hand will be against you. And that was the problem. The problem is not that they didn't have a king. The problem was that they weren't obeying and seeking the Lord's will, the Lord's commands. They weren't obeying him. And having a king didn't change that. And that was what they found. So Samuel, he gives them a sign to show what God thought about this. So it wasn't just Samuel's word. So Samuel had established his own sort of credentials, his own moral credentials, you might say. And then he says, look, God's going to give you a sign to show what God thinks about this, to prove beyond all doubt what God's perspective is on this. And he says, so now then, stand still. Again, stand still. You stand there and you watch. He says, see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes.